In Stellar Blade, within a post-apocalyptic world set on Earth at the start of the 22nd century, the scientist Raphael Marx created Mother Sphere, an artificial intelligence made to advance the human race. Through its efforts, humans were able to undergo rapid bio and nanotechnological evolution. However, the arrival of monstrous organic creatures called Naytibas threatened humanity, and ultimately humans lost the war against them. Forced to abandon Earth, the remaining humans found sanctuary in outer space within a massive cluster of planet-orbiting machinery known as the Colony, with Mother Sphere as their leader. In an effort to reclaim their home, the Colony periodically sends squadrons of elite soldiers down to Earth to continue their fight against the Naytibas. The Colony deploys the 7th Airborne Squad, which includes Eve, an elite soldier, in its latest attempt to liberate Earth, with orders to eliminate powerful high-ranking Alpha Naytibas, as well as to locate the Elder Naytiba, leader of all Naytibas. However, the operation ends disastrously when Eve becomes the sole survivor after her squadron is all but eliminated, including her commander Taki, who's seemingly killed by an unidentified Alpha, before Eve's rescued by Adam, a human scavenger who was among the section of humanity left behind on Earth after the rest escaped to the Colony. He enlists Eve's help in recovering a hypercell power source from a ruined megacity, one of many abandoned after humanity's exodus. Eve retrieves the cell and also succeeds in killing an Alpha, taking its Alpha core, vital organ in the process. She then encounters and rescues Lily, a survivor from the 5th Airborne Squad, who decides to join Eve as her engineering support before Adam takes them both to Zion, the last surviving human city on Earth. He takes them to the city's leader, Oracle, who explains to Eve that in order to locate and gain access to the Elder, she'll need the Master Core, which requires a total of 4 cores to make. He offers to guide her to the locations of other Alphas, and thus their cores, but requests her help retrieving additional cells in exchange, as Adam explains that Zion's energy supply is dwindling, and that most of the city's residents are hibernating in cryostasis as a result. Eve agrees to help Zion as part of completing her mission, and begins forming relationships with the residents of the city, all in pursuit of saving humanity and reclaiming Earth. Eve leaves for the research facility Altesse Lavoir to retrieve the 2nd cell, where she discovers it's infested with Naytibas, but notes that these ones appear more human-like than the previous ones she's encountered. She also discovers the first of a series of recordings left behind by Raven, a member of the 2nd Airborne Squad, each chronicling Raven's findings regarding the war against the Naytibas. Eve delivers the cell back to Zion and is directed to the next Alpha by Oracle. She eventually finds another of Raven's recordings, but shortly after encounters the nearby Alpha, who, to her horror, is revealed to be Taki, who survived but was subsequently contaminated. After killing her and retrieving her core, Eve's directed to another research facility, Abyss Lavoir, for the next cell. She discovers yet another recording left by Raven, whose findings culminate in a shocking revelation. Eve and all others who believe themselves to be humans are in fact Androaidos, a synthetic race of human-like androids created by Mother Sphere to eradicate and replace the human race, and that the Naytibas are what became of the real humans in their attempt to evolve to combat the Androaidos and Mother Sphere. Upon returning with the 3rd cell, Oracle verifies these findings, but despite her doubts, Eve remains determined in completing her mission. Eve is then informed that the next Alpha is located in outer space, and that she must use an orbit elevator, which humanity used to ascend from Earth to the Colony, in order to reach it. While journeying to the elevator, Adam receives troubling news that something serious has happened in Zion, and departs the group to head back alone, leaving Eve and Lily to go on without him. After fighting her way through Naytibas outside and within the Raphael Space Center, boarding the orbit elevator, and riding it into space, Eve manages to locate and defeat the Alpha, using all of her body cells' power to overcharge her railgun and destroy it, which nearly kills her, rendering her unable to retrieve its core, which is lost to space. Mother Sphere dispatches Providence, an armored exoskeleton suit, from the Colony in response to Lily's request for aid, which rescues Eve and returns her safely to Earth. Alive but empty-handed without the final core, the two return to Zion, only to discover it's under attack by the same unidentified Alpha that attacked Eve and Taki when they first landed on Earth. A battle ensues, with Eve managing to destroy it and retrieve its core, and afterward its true identity is revealed to be Raven, who was seemingly granted it as a separate Naytiba form by the Elder in return for her loyal service, thus allowing her to survive and escape despite it being destroyed. Eve then finds Oracle, dying from injuries sustained during Raven's attack, who's revealed to also be an Alpha, as well as the first Naytiba Androaido hybrid, who originally killed many humans, but was eventually saved by them, leading him to create and lead Zion to protect them. With only 3 of the 4 cores in Eve's possession, Oracle sacrifices himself, giving up his own core so that Eve can finally create the Master Core. Eve and Lily depart Zion to search for Adam, who inexplicably never reached the city, tracking his last known location to the Elder's Nest. At the nest's entrance, they're confronted by Raven, now in her original Andro 8 form, who chastises them for their blind devotion to Mother Sphere, despite knowing the truth of her genocide against humanity, before being again defeated by Eve, who incapacitates her without killing her, so that she's forced to helplessly bear witness to final events. With the Master Core in hand, Eve uses it to unlock the nest's entrance before she and Lily proceed inside, where they manage to find Adam, who reveals his true identity as both the Elder who created Naytibas and as Raphael Marks, the scientist who created Mother Sphere. Adam expresses deep regret for how his actions have caused humanity's downfall, and further explains that, in addition to Naytibas and Andro 8 being unable to coexist, neither species will ever be true successors to the human race due to their lack of original humanity and biological flaws, with one being corrupted organics and the other being non-organic machines. He then explains his plan to ensure humanity's future by creating a new type of human being, one made by fusing himself with Eve, a true merging of organic and machine, and asks her to join him, leading to one of three potential outcomes. If Eve refuses Adam's plan, choosing the freedom to make her own decisions, independent of influence from either Naytibas or Mother Sphere, Adam restrains Lily and battles Eve, who forces him to shed his humanity and fully transform into the Elder Naytiba as a last resort after she significantly damages him. However, she still manages to defeat him, delivering the final blows after triggering the Taki device Lily provided earlier to activate Taki mode, which allows her to utilize Taki's powerful sword and skills. Adam reverts to his human form before dying along with the last hope for humanity, and Mother Sphere welcomes Eve and Lily back to the colony now that their mission is complete. If Eve accepts Adam's proposal, the two fuse together, and Eve emerges as a new, powerful Naytiba Andro 8 hybrid. However, Lily loses control of Providence and is trapped inside after it receives a colony-directed combat command from Mother Sphere to eliminate Eve, who's forced to defend herself by fighting against it. If Eve has a below maximum affinity level with Lily, then Lily's electrified into unconsciousness by Providence and remains trapped within it during the battle, resulting in the severing of the lower half of her body when Eve destroys the suit, and her death shortly after, with Eve then greeted alone by Mother Sphere outside the nest. Disappointed in Eve's choice not to eradicate the remaining Naytibas, and thus with no further use for her, Mother Sphere proclaims the Eve Protocol now concluded, dispatches an army to eliminate Eve, and Eve begins fighting against an endless horde of Andro 8 soldiers. If Eve has a maximum affinity level with Lily, then Lily trusted her enough to previously take her to the Botanical Garden Atelier, where her dearest friend, Iberus, a skilled hacker also of the 5th Airborne Squad, lays suspended in a coma after sustaining massive body cell damage, and where Lily then removed Iberus's memory stick, which contains her deep algorithm hacking system. Using the memory stick, Lily's able to hack Providence, overriding its locking mechanism that's keeping her trapped, and surviving by ejecting herself from it before Eve's forced to deliver the finishing blows which destroy it. Mother Sphere then greets both Eve and Lily outside the nest, again expressing her disappointment in allowing Naytibas to survive, and concluding the Eve Protocol before dispatching an army to fight Eve, but this time Eve manages to completely annihilate the army. Afterward, Lily uses the fourth and final cell she received from Adam to fully restore Zion's functionality, with Eve's new form leading her to be embraced by its residents as protector of both the city and of humanity.